Yes guys, my name is Junaid. I'm a third year medical student studying at Newcastle University, and in this video I'm going to go over some basic tips on how to prepare for medical school interviews. This is just going to be more of a general sort of video on how I prepared for my medical school interviews, and I'll make future videos on how to answer specific questions. And if you're interested in that, then stay tuned and hopefully you guys find these videos useful. By the way, I just got back from hospital placement, which is why I'm in my clinical dress, and it was a long day and I'm absolutely shattered, so got the coffee on deck as well. So yeah, one quick thing to note is that the interview format this year might be slightly different because of COVID, and I'm not sure how each university is planning on adhering to the government guidelines, but I'm guessing that they're going to be online interviews. That shouldn't necessarily change things in terms of the preparation that you need to do, and hopefully the tips in this video will still be useful for you guys. So when people apply to medical school and they're waiting for interviews, or they might have even got an interview, the first thing people usually do is they will look up the most common questions asked and they will figure out how to answer those questions. But I think the first thing you need to do is take a step back and make an effort to understand yourself on a deeper level. What I mean by that is you need to fully understand your own strengths, your weaknesses, your personal attributes, and really understanding this will give you a good sort of foundation on where you can build your answers on. So I think the first thing you need to do is reflect on your true motivations for wanting to become a doctor, and you really have to think about it deeply. And one good exercise for this is asking yourself the question, why should I be accepted into medical school? And I think if you can't answer that question honestly for yourself, then how can you expect yourself to convince an interviewer? Once you feel as though you've thoroughly assessed your own motivations for wanting to study medicine, and once you understand that for yourself in your mind, only then should you turn your attention to expressing those thoughts and convincing other people. So once you've done that thorough assessment of your strengths, weaknesses and personal attributes, from that you can start to give your answers a personal touch. And what this will do is it will highlight to the interviewer your inner passion and motivation to study medicine, and this will really set you apart from other candidates. So when I was in sixth form, I heard a quote from my chemistry teacher that really resonated with me, and it's stuck with me since. And it's a quote by Benjamin Franklin, and it goes, "If you fail to prepare, you are preparing to fail." And I think it can apply to anything in life, and in this case, medical school interviews. And this next tip, and I can't stress it highly enough, is you need to prepare as much as you can for this interview. You need to research as many questions as you can and prepare answers for every single one of them. And honestly, I'd say the sooner you start, the better. So when I was doing my application, I remember a few days after I submitted it, that's when I started looking into the interview side of things and really preparing hard for that. Because I knew that sometimes the time frame from getting the interview to actually having the interview is very short. So I wanted to prepare as much as I could to give myself the best chance possible. Now, I know some people will say to you, don't prepare your answers, and I just think it couldn't be further from the truth. Like, honestly, I'd say completely disregard that, because everyone will prepare answers for their questions. It's just that not everyone can make it seem slick and natural. I'd say don't worry about that for now, because you'll get that over time from practicing over and over. And I'll make a video on how to seem natural and slick in an interview, so hopefully you guys will find that interesting. So when it comes to the questions themselves, there's tons and tons of question banks online that you can use, and there's a lot of free ones, and I'll leave a link down below with some of the question banks that I used. And just a side note, I'm not affiliated or paid by any of these companies to promote them. I just used them when I was applying and I found them really helpful, so hopefully you guys do too. And just so you know, it's going to be the same questions that are asked year in, year out. So it can be quite helpful to check forums on previous questions asked, or even ask any medical students that you know on the type of questions they were asked. But they might not be able to tell you the exact question. But yeah, my tip for this is prepare for the most common questions first, and then you can do the less common sort of weird questions afterwards. And this is just because you're more likely to be asked the most common questions anyway, so you don't want to be preparing loads and loads for questions that you have a low chance of being asked. So yeah, have a look at those question banks. And I also used a really good book which had loads and loads of questions, so you can check that out as well. So when it comes to answering the questions themselves, one really good tool that I used to frame my answers was the STARR tool. And this was an absolute game changer. So I'll leave a link down below which explains STARR a lot better than I could in this video. So yeah, make sure you definitely check it out because I couldn't recommend it more highly. So my final tip when you're preparing your answers is make them personal to you, because you really want to stand out from the crowd. Now, I'm a firm believer that everyone has a unique thing about them, but I also know that not everyone is able to put a personal twist on that and frame it in a way where it seems unique. Just remember that the interviewers will be hearing the same boring answers over and over the whole day, and it's really refreshing for them to hear something unique, and that way you'll be remembered in a good way, and that always increases your chances of getting in. My last tip is to practice, practice, practice. When an athlete lines up for a 100-meter sprint, they will have put countless hours into preparing for that one moment. And the same goes for your interview. In that moment, you'll be relying on peak performance, and the only way you'll get peak performance is by putting in the hours of preparation beforehand. Getting an interview is hard enough in itself, and that's only one hurdle cleared. And then doing well in the interview is a completely different hurdle. So make sure you rise up to the challenge and don't let yourself down by not preparing enough. Now, there are a couple of ways that you can practice and prepare for your interview. The first one is where you can sit in front of a mirror and answer the questions to yourself. Now, I get that it can be kind of weird if someone walks in and sees you talking to yourself, but honestly, I feel like it really helped me when I was preparing for my interviews. Another thing you can do is you can do a voice recording of your answers, and you can listen back to that recording just to hear if the answer sounds right and if you sound natural. And another thing you can do is you can ask a friend, a parent, or anyone who's just willing to sit down and listen to you, and that will just help you get used to saying your answers to other people, and that's completely different to reading them out to yourself. So I say the more practice you can get of saying your answers to other people, the more confident you'll be in the interview and the better you'll be able to perform. And now, one final tip, and this was the one that I feel helped me the most when it came to preparing and practicing for my interviews, and this is to use visualization. And I found that doing this really helps me settle the nerves on the day. So when you're preparing your answers and saying them out loud, sit there and imagine yourself sat in that interviewer's chair, and imagine that you absolutely smash your interview and that you're completely well articulated, you're witty, you're charming, and everything just goes perfectly. And what this constant positive visualization will do is it will help you associate positive things to the interview, and this can really help settle your nerves on the actual day. So instead of constantly thinking that you're gonna fail or you're gonna miss out or that things aren't gonna go your way, by having that positive mindset come into play and by almost sort of hyping yourself up, you'll be fully primed for succeeding in that interview. So yeah, those are my tips for preparing for interviews. I hope you found this video useful, and I hope to make many more videos on the interview process, including how to answer specific questions, how to remain cool, calm, collected, and any other videos that you guys want to see. So if there's anything particular that you want to see, drop it down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, drop a cheeky thumbs up for your boy. And if you like these types of videos, then feel free to subscribe, and hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.